friends, I am so excited to show this excerpt of my Relationship Restart Confidence for Horse and Human Masterclass and Mentorship Program. I'm especially excited because my student Trish and her horse Jackson have come so far, and I'm really proud as their mentor to showcase their relationship to you. Jackson is a tricky and difficult horse with being damaged as a learner, having been really stuck and shut down and argumentative. He had caused a serious riding accident, and it is so exciting to see that Trish and Jackson can now start to feel safe, secure, and confident together, to have a wholehearted communication built on interconnection and without the use of control and pressure and even treat-based training techniques. This video will not only showcase Trish's and Jackson's relationship, but it will give you oodles of step-by-step education that you can immediately put to good use for yourself and your horse. And if you're interested in grabbing one of the spots in my really small mentorship community, then send me an email at magic@petrachristensen.com, and I go through the application process with you and see whether that is the next best step for you and your horse. I know that I can facilitate positive change and transformation for you and your horse if you want to be a dedicated student in the Genuine Connections Horsemanship Program. So have a look at this lesson and feel free to reach out to me. Bye-bye. Trish, Jackson circling and spiraling in, cool. Which videos should we do first? The one circling to the right in a little play, or Jackson circling at a trot and spiraling in?
Yeah, do that one first. It's I don't know if it's really a spiral, but I'm trying to get him to flex, like look inwards on the circle, because he looks out, and I think there's one. But they're pretty both much the same, but one of them, he when he looks out, he kind of twists his neck and then does this weird thing with his mouth.
Okay.
And he's always done it, like when I used to do online, and I always thought it was, well, probably a displaced behavior, but I'm not sure because, you know, he's got a bit of a funny thing going on in his neck as well, but I think it is a displaced behavior, and I thought I'd just show this to you and see what you think. So he only does it when he's circling to the right and not to the left, which is weird, but yeah. So, and also I started circling because when we're walking together and we trot, he trots faster than I do, so he's not, you know, listening to me. So we've turned it into a circle so that I'm sort of more with him. Yeah, because sometimes he does take off. He does always come back to me, but I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't been able to get that on video, what he does when he takes off. But anyway, we'll have a look at this one.
Yeah. So in general, when I have a horse that kind of trots faster than I want my horse to trot, then I would start with transitions at the walk and be really specific that I have a walk from a number 1 to a number 9 and play within those numbers back and forth and get that really good. So that I maybe start out at a number 3 walk, and then I kind of add a little bit of energy. I go to number 5, then I go back to number 3, and then I might just ask for one step at a time. Then that would be a 1, and then I accelerate maybe back to a 5, and then I slowly but surely walk a little bit faster and stretch that a little bit more, then go back, and then add, maybe a couple trot steps to it and then immediately slow back down to the walk. So that acceleration and de-acceleration, like you're kind of revving the engine, like you're going like, and then you're going to slow down, and that'll really help with that. And I actually like to hear that he takes off, because he doesn't feel the need anymore to stick around. And I'd much rather have him leave and come back at this point, because that shows free choice, free will. And he's getting out of that robot mode that he was a little bit in. So that's actually, I think that's great. Oh, look at that. Just green, but everything is yellow at my house now. And yeah, it's fabulous. So nice and green. One bale of alfalfa now $28 at my house. I almost had a heart attack going to the feed store. It was $80 for 3 bales of hay. So really nice, right? This really friendly facial expression, acknowledging him. Cool, very good. And even like this right there, where you change direction and he's absolutely 100% making room for you, right? This is that nice flow that we want, right? When we're starting to change direction, see how he nicely stepped away and how his front feet are crossing over. That is our horse making 100% room for us, right? Really honoring our personal space. It's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. I like that.
Is that a spiraling? Because I'm wanting him to bend, because he's looking out, and I want him to bend so he comes in.
Yeah.
Is that a semi-spiral?
This is really nice, right? So interesting. So let's have a look when he starts to look away. So that's where videos are fabulous, right? I mean, when you're there, you just, it's a split moment and you just can't see it. That's where we can go back and look at things. And it's actually a really nice trot, right? Really nice trot. Yeah, it kind of starts there, right? So I would, the split second where that nose starts to point away from you, I would call him in just like you did there. And you can do just that, or you can continue to go backwards and kind of keep spiraling. And this idea that we would like for his head to be at least level with his withers or even lower, and that his nose comes to our belly button, right? That we use our arms and we're kind of stretching the arms to the side. In the beginning, you can, put it further away, and then over a period of time, we can make that space smaller and smaller, that our horse feels okay to come to us and put his or her head between our hands and rest against our belly button. We can only do that if we've achieved the walk exercise with having that relaxation, with our horse honoring our personal space, right? And allowing them to find relaxation there, because that is potentially a kind of scary situation because we have, our arm on one side, arm the other side, and the predator could go, and so they have to feel really, really comfortable to stay there. And when you look at the video that I did with JB, right, he stays there for a moment, and then the head goes like up over here, or he looks over there. And so he can only stay for a short period of time in that position. And last week during the retreat, Barbara and Vicky worked on that a little bit with him. And in the end, he was actually able to stay there and have his head actually lower with his withers and really relax in that position. And that's a really nice way to help your horse overcome brace and making assumptions and trying to find a way out. But we don't want to force that or manipulate it, right? When I've seen several people do this. Ingela used to do it first online, and it was a very controlled movement. And Marike de Jong does it, and it's just all very controlled and limiting the horse's choices. And I just don't like that, because I look in the horse's face and I see that worry in their eye, but they really don't have a choice because they're on a very short lead rope or on a cavesson, and the human limits where they can put their head. And over a period of time, the horse learns to keep the head there and also finds relaxation, right? Because if you look at Ingela's horses, those horses are 100% relaxed, right? And I just think it's nicer to do it with giving the horse the choice to put the head away, and just with repetition, explain the horse that there's nothing to be worried about, versus saying, keep your head here. There's nothing to be worried about, right? I always feel like, I'm sure there is a reason for it, but when somebody like starts to micromanage me, it freaks me out. Or whether there's restriction, right? It would go down to the point where if I, as a kid, would put like tight leggings on, I literally would get scissors and cut them off my body, because it's like I couldn't have it, that restriction, right? So if somebody would hold on to me and I don't want somebody to touch me, that is like a huge threat to me. And I'm not even quite sure where it comes from. I think what I've traced it back to is I had this, and I'm not quite sure, but it's feeling my way into it. I had, as a baby, I had this, it was like a swing. It was like a metal frame that would bounce if you would kind of sit in there. And I remember, and I was a few months old, right? I remember that I was in that swing, and you're buckled into the swing, right? And my mom left the room, and I felt constrained in that, and it really freaked me out. And I think it comes from that. It might come from a previous life. What do I know? But I can really relate to horses when they're like, oh, I really don't want to be there, but I have to be there. So I just like that idea that I leave that choice to my horse, and I'm not making them, but by repetition, I offer it again and again. And then eventually with the repetition, they're like, oh, this is okay. I don't have to do it. And every time I just walk backwards when my horse puts the head away, and I'm like, never mind, I'll just walk backwards, and I keep offering it until you can actually say yes to that. And I think that would be like a really nice next step for Jackson, because that spiraling in towards you, I mean, that's fabulous, right? It's really
So
nice.
with the spiraling in, you said for me to walk backwards. Do I go backwards like in a circle? Is that
Yes,
what?
so you would kind of like, let me see whether I can, might be a little bit tricky with it thing, but we'll try. So he's coming in. It's like the big circle, right? Okay, I'm not very good with mousy stuff. Let me pull that out of the way. So my circle is like yay, right? And then he comes in. Look at the egg circle, right? And then I would basically keep going backwards. So I would create something like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right? Okay, I'll try that. Yeah.
And that would like kind of be the next step, because we have because this is nice, right? His head is level with his withers, and then it comes up a little bit. And part of it is because he stops, right? Because he kind of stops his hind end, and then the head comes up, but it's also because he kind of touches your hand, and then the head kind of came up, right? And so we want him, and this might just be a little bit pushy because you're actually on his side now, right? So he came to you like here, and that's why the spiraling exercise, you will feel your horse push a little bit towards you, right? But you can also feel that you can regulate it. So you can kind of feel that energy of your horse walking towards you is coming towards you, but you never feel like you have to like, oh, this is too much, right? You can regulate it. And as we're going backwards, our horse is coming to us, and we're stopping in with a head, like in Birdie's case, right? He would really have to put his head down that he gets to our belly button. And that would be a good thing, but we don't want to force it there. And I think that'll add another level of relaxation for him. And that'll also help with the not looking away. And you can also, send him around the barrel and have him come back to you. And that can usually help because the barrel is kind of a tight turn, and it's hard for them to look away. That can also help with, oh, look at that, fabulous. That can also help with getting that right bend. That looking to the outside, that it gets so quickly established, especially when we're working on the circling game and we're working on that, give our horse responsibility and maintain gait and maintain direction and look where you're going. And because in level 1 and 2, nobody talks about proper flexion. And then in level 3 and 4, suddenly you're noticing your horse looks to the outside. And then you've created a pattern. And that it's tricky to fix it because now we're having the horse away from us, right? And they're a little bit on autopilot, because that's what that Pirelli, give your horse responsibilities is really, the horse turns on little autopilot, little or a lot, depending on how people do it. And it's also a disconnection, right? Because we're turning the horse. I like that phrase that Ingela used to say, we're turning the horse into an individual because we're in the middle and we're disconnecting what's actually happening. And, we were told that is give our horse responsibilities, and it's a good thing, but I don't think it's a good thing because we're disconnecting from our horse. And that whole idea of maintain gait, maintain direction, look where you're going in level 1 and 2 does not talk in any shape or form about proper flexion. So we're teaching our horse improper posture, and then we get to fix it in level 3 and 4, and it's really hard. So that's why the walk exercise. The other thing that you can do is you do the walk exercise and you switch from going straight. you're turning and you're going backwards, and you have the horse coming towards you, and then you can spiral in. So we're not even sending them out to the circle. So if you find that it's hard for him to find that flexion towards the circle, on the circle towards you, then go straight, turn around, start walking backwards in a spiral, and ask him to come to you and rest there. And that can be like a little pattern, going straight, circle, rest, turn around, start going straight, turn around again, circle backwards, rest. And that'll really help him to just, it's just something that he does unconsciously.
Yeah, no, that's
and
good.
we just need to help him find a new way of being. So this is super nice, right? Because he's totally connected. He has a super friendly face. And there's my humongous cat. Nice. Yeah.
So now he's starting to do that funny thing with his mouth.
Yeah.
And twist his neck.
So that is a little bit that wringing that neck, and it's a pattern. It's a little bit that wringing that neck and complaining and I'm doing it, I don't like what I'm doing. But it's not because he doesn't like it anymore. It's because it's a pattern that got ingrained and he's doing it, right? So now we just need to help him let go of that pattern.
Okay, yeah. So here I'm thinking, oh, his neck might be doing something. So I'm just giving him a bit of a rub.
And this idea of helping our horse to become aware of, any tension, or because he has to twist muscles like right there, right? There's a certain muscle involved for him to kind of stick that head over there and do that, right? There's certain muscles involved. So I had this Appy mare, and her pattern was that bunny hop in the back in the canter, right? She wouldn't come down individually with each hind foot, but she would come down simultaneously. And that horse also, her hind end was like 3 or 4 inches higher than her withers. And so it was impossible for her to put her hind end really underneath herself. And so I had Dr. Jensen come out, my holistic vet. And, he did what he did, which he did acupuncture and he did energy work, and he was also Native American. So he did that part of his tradition. And then he would sometimes come out with his eagle feather. And then he also would do equine touch, and he would also use the accentuator. And between his work and then me sending her on the circle, and every time she would do that bunny hop, I would stop her, have her come in, and I would work on her hind end. And she started to realize that that felt good. And she would actually come to me, and then she would stretch her hind leg out, and it's okay, work on this one. And then she would put that back, and then she would stretch the other one out, and I would work on this one. And then she would go back on the circle. And over a period of, I think it was 3 weeks, Dr. Jensen came out a few times. And we actually fixed that bunny hop canter. And not only did we do that, at the end, her hind end was level with her withers. And so many things that we think is conformational is just the horse holding tension, and the bones just get pulled out of whack, right? It was 3 or 4 inches. I mean, she was totally butt high, and we straightened that out. That was pretty cool. Sadly, I don't have any video or photos of that. Yeah, and I like the fact that, he feels okay going back to eating, because they have to have a certain, especially when it's calm eating, right? If it's stressed eating really quick, then we know our horse is stressed out. But when they're eating really slowly, then there has to be a certain level of relaxation in order to do that. Yeah, so that's stretching down.
Yeah, now he's twisting more.
That's but he also stretched down there for a moment. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, you can fix that.
Oh, good.
You can fix that with that. Yeah, that's just could it be that he has some issues in that neck, and he has some tension, and it's kind of ouchy? That could totally be. However, we were talking with Holly with Spirit about the vet thinking that the horse has all kinds of physical issues that need to be taken care of. When I have a horse with, let's say, a kissing spine, and the horse does funny things under the saddle, and then I put the bareback pad on my horse, and I get back on my horse, and my horse is fine with a bareback pad, I seriously doubt that the horse has kissing spine. Because now I'm sitting on the horse's spine. Okay, the saddle moves me away, unless it's sitting on the spine, but it shouldn't, right? Unless it's a treeless saddle. And I personally, PPO, I do not believe in treeless saddles. Karen Rolfe has a treeless saddle. It's like super expensive, and that seems to work because her horses move fabulously. But the treeless saddles that I've seen my students use, that's not true. My friend Steffi had a Tucker saddle, and she devised a specific pad with a very specific setup. She layered like different materials and got that saddle to come off the horse's shoulder. And that was an extremely short, bulky Mustang. And my friend Steffi was not a light person. She was rather heavy, and her buttocks was rather big. And that horse moved fabulously with that saddle. But it was a combination of the human having taught the horse all along the way to have proper posture. It was a very short horse with a very short back. And I have the video still somewhere. We made a video back then, what she did. And that pad that she devised herself, I think, really helped. But those are things. What I've seen so much with students is you go to a normal Western medicine vet, and all they do is they look for problems in the horse from a physical perspective, right? And oftentimes we encounter the problem that the vet does dentistry, and they have 2 credit hours here in the US for dentistry. It's like going to your foot doctor to get your teeth worked at, or going to your regular physician to go your teeth worked at. It's just not great. And there's a lot of misinformation when it comes to horse dentistry, including the fact that people like to use mechanical Dremel bits and all that in order to make it easy for the human. And there are huge problems with power tools with horses' teeth. First of all, they take too much away. They create heat, which here at the University of Arizona, they've done studies that can be detrimental for the horse. Those grooves that should be there naturally are often taken off, yada, yada, yada. So the best of medicine comes from a physical perspective, and they're looking what's wrong with the horse physically. Then you get a nutritionist, and that's what they do. They look at your nutrition, and most of the time, the nutritionist only looks at the nutrition, right? And then you have a farrier, and they only look at the feet. And you gotta have that holistic standpoint that the physical issue will affect the mental and emotional issue. and the emotional issue will affect the mental and physical issue, and so on. It is a system, and everything affects the horse, including how you keep it, including what kind of horse buddies he has, including what kind of climate the horse lives in, including the people that are around the horse when you're not there. Everything is part of the whole. And so I've just seen students chase rabbit holes down the rabbit hole because one person says one thing and then the next person says that. I had a student in Florida that had a nutritionist come out, and that woman was spending a gazillion of dollars on supplements on all her horses. And I looked at it, and several supplements had extra selenium, and she was actually feeding selenium at a level that was detrimental for her horses. And that was a nutritionist. And so just because somebody is a mechanic doesn't mean he's going to do a good job repairing your car. So be conscientious who you do business with, who you invite in your horse's life, and always look at it from a holistic perspective, right? So having said that, could it be that because of his behavior that, in my opinion, PPO, Petra's personal opinion, take what you can use, leave the rest, comes from a mental and emotional distress. And so now the horse uses muscles in an awkward way, trying to think away from the human and mentally and emotionally remove himself from a situation that he physically cannot remove himself. Will that affect his body and his muscles? And might he be ouchy? And could there be nerves pinched and heaven knows what, right? Absolutely. And I believe, when you take the stress factor away from the horse, which I just sent an email out. I had yesterday evening, my brain was like on fire. It's a really good email about these ideas of the 5 areas of confidence and what causes horses to be unconfident as a learner and what to do instead. It's a good list. I'm going to put it in the masterclass. But this idea that when we take the stress factor away, and then we have to help our horse because it's unconscious, right? It's like me going to the acupuncturist, looking at Louise Hay's book, going through the little list and looking at bladder, and it says, you're pissed off, right? And I'm like, I'm not pissed off. And that was the first time in, I don't know, years maybe, where I realized how much resentment and anger had built up in my body. So I had to read that, and it had to trigger my body to actually realize how angry I was. And it's the same thing, I believe. It's the same thing with a horse. At that point, we're having an unconscious pattern, ear ups wringing their neck and stuff like that. And it just becomes part of them and who they are, right? But it doesn't have to be that way at all. It's just like we humans. And does change require effort? Absolutely. Is it possible? Absolutely. We humans get to choose, right? Our horse on his own would never learn to change that pattern because they do not know what else is available for them. We have to help them find their potential. And that's that fabulous position of the LEADmare that no horse can do for them. No other horse can help. The horse can see the potential that the horse has and help them go there and fix things that somebody else created. Right? It's so exciting. So you can absolutely accept, because there you get that spiraling in, right? Mm-hmm. You get it there. You just got to do more of that. And he needs to feel that that is the best thing, sliced bread. And we might just put a little cookie in the end if we feel that's okay. Did you see Missy with a bucket in the middle, so that we don't encounter that pushiness with the treat? She just puts the treat in the bucket and the horse goes over to the bucket and eats the treat.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Actually, I did that in here one day. I put a little bit of carrot on a drum, had it sitting on a cone, had it in the tire there on the little white drum thing there, so that every now and then we'd go to it and he's like, oh, I've got a treat.
Right.
So
yeah. That's another great idea, like that little treasure hunt, right?
Yeah. I don't do it every time, otherwise he starts to run to every cone.
Right. Exactly. That's then the problem with the treat-based training, that they go on autopilot. So we don't want that. But it's a fabulous way of just, we're just going on a little treasure hunt. We're just adding a little excitement to our horse's life, especially when they're confident. They love that.
So I have a question. Bergie does that same thing, swing his head like that when he's at liberty, not all the time, but some of the time. So you're saying to Trish that if you just get the relaxation and the spiraling in, that will go away?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the...
It's
so
a
the
coping
relaxation
pattern.
has... What's that?
It's a coping pattern, and it might not have anything to do anymore with what you do. It just gets triggered by the fact that we're asking for a specific task, right? And then the body just runs through a automated pattern. And that's when we just actively have to help him to change that. So every time he wrings his neck, I would spiral inward and let him rest with me. And then, send him back out, and it will dissolve. I had somebody tell me that my paint gelding Harley, bless his heart, he had that swishing of the tail. He had like, I can't even remember. I think he had like 750 APHA points. He had ROMs, he had superiors, he had everything. He was a super accomplished show horse that had shown, him his whole life starting as a weanling. And he had that agitated tail swish, 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 swish. And I was told that would never go away. It went away, 95% of the time. Once in a while it would show up. And then I would look at what did I do, what caused it, what triggered it. And it became an almost non-event. So just because people say, it's not going to change doesn't mean that's right. They just don't see the possibility for it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Okay, let's have a look at the next video. We can really limit ourselves with what we see as possible or what other people think is possible for us. And we can do the same thing with our horse. If we don't think we can do it, right, then we probably won't be doing it. If we think we can, then we figure out a way how.
So in this video, it's sort of much the same, but I have a little bit of a play in there because he used to be really playful when he was young, and so I'm trying to get that a bit of play in there. So there's just a little bit in there.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm gonna wake that back up in him. Yeah, but I mean, really, really nice changes. He's participating, he's open, he's connected. He's, and this idea of responsiveness. Do we have a responsive horse? Yes, we have, but it's in an engaged way, right? It's not in a horse that's constantly looking for, oh, what is my human doing? Oh, better do this, oh, better do that. There's this, we're never gonna get that relaxation when we're looking for that responsiveness in the beginning, because then we become task oriented and we become dominant. And there will always be a level of relaxation that we can achieve. So now we're getting that responsiveness, but it comes from free will and free choice because he's happy to follow our direction. So that's awesome. Yep. Good. Yeah, perfect, right? Because there was a little bit of and it's like, oh, you don't have to do that. We'll just check that right out of you. And I just really, really like how willing he is to move that hind end away from you, right? It's really, and your ability to move has increased hugely, right?
Yep.
Which is awesome.
I'm getting better. I still find it a little bit hard running, but it's definitely getting better. I just got to do more of it.
Yeah. So this is so lovely, right? Because here we have that nice bend, and it's just gorgeous. Yep. And this is so good. It's exactly, look at that. Right? Totally different horse. Yeah, so nice. Gosh, look at that nice little trot he's getting. Gosh, so pretty. He's a pretty mover.
It looks more relaxed, doesn't it? I mean, I do see sometimes it takes off and it's like stressed, but yeah.
He's really like, pushing himself forward with his hind end. He's really engaging, and he looks so powerful. It's awesome. Yeah, it's great. Very, very good. By the way, I haven't forgotten about those testimonials that I asked a while ago. I'm just slammed. Like I was not by choice that I was up at 2:00. I just had to catch up because I have this workshop today. So I will follow up. We've got the retreat next week with Linda and Marilyn. I'm so excited. And then we've got David's clinic, and then we've got the implementation week a week after that, and that's when I probably can catch up. So yeah, this is all looking really, 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 really nice, right? This is a super nice position. Yeah, so when his, yep, when he just kind of bends to the outside, I would just spiral in and just actively help him change that. That's not going to be a big deal.
So I do that as soon as he flexes out, just bring him back in straight away.
It's just like a little reminder, hey, come over here, look at me, I'm the center of the universe.
So a question I have, you mentioned before about putting your arms out. You know, you were talking about putting your arms out and walking backwards so that he comes towards me. So I just missed a little bit of, well, I didn't understand quite what you meant. So if I'm walking backwards and I go like this and he comes to me, he might look that way and that way.
Your goal, your thought, right? Your vision is that he comes towards you, which he already does really nicely with a nice bend. And then you're walking backwards and his head stays level with his withers. and he's willing to come in towards you. And in the beginning, you have your arms fairly straight out, like, like really straight out.
Mhm.
And then over a period of time, you can bring
Ah.
them closer together. And we want
Ah.
him to rest here
Yeah.
with his head against our belly button and find relaxation there. So like when you see that in the video, when I did that with JB, and I hadn't done it in like forever, right? He would put his head there, and then his head would go up and would go over my shoulder. And then I would just start again and go backwards again. And it's just that repetition, like Barbara and Vicky didn't do it. I don't think it was even 5 times or something like that. And then he was able to just rest there and had his head way down and was just hanging out with Barbara. So it was just a little bit of that repetition and making sure that they feel really safe and secure in that position, because it is a vulnerable position. That's just like another position, like it's like these milestones of getting our horse to be totally okay with the haltering and letting go of all those preconceived notions. And then the idea that our horse is willing to relent leadership to us during the leading process, and we get that slack in the lead rope, and our horse walk, trot, stop, back up, turn both sides with slack in the lead rope, right? That's another real milestone. And then we're looking at the feet, having the ability to pick up my horse's feet and really go through each step of the way. There are like 6 phases, the idea of the weight shift, and then picking the foot up and handling the foot and circling it down and putting it on the tippy toe and then bringing the weight back, right? There was just a lady in the Cindy in the Live and Ride with Confidence group. She says she cannot do that. And when the farrier comes, it's a total, disaster. And the other day, and she says she has a very nice farrier and there's a barefoot trimmer and it's a lady. And the other day, the human got bitten, right? So it's very, very unfortunate for the poor woman, but it also shows us in what a stressed out mind the horse is, that she feels the need to bite, right? Because that's always very defensive and the horse is always upset when they're biting. And she said, what am I going to do? I need to have my horse's feet trimmed, right? And that's when she just really needs to look at, where does that start? Because that is clearly a leadership issue. So we're going to have to look at the haltering. We're going to have to look at the leading. We're going to have to go back to feeding and approaching. But once she fixes that problem with the feet, oh my God, plop, 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 plop. So many other things after that will fall in place. And that spiraling backwards and our horse being willing to stay in that position, I feel like that is another one of those milestones, because it's a potentially precarious situation, just like putting on the halter, right? Where the horse knows potentially they have no more free will and no more free choice. With a picking up feet, where the horse totally has to relent control to us in order for us to do those things. And then another one is that position of finding comfort, being so close to the human in a precarious position for a prey animal, because they're exposing their neck, right? That's where the mountain lion would kind of take a chunk out of them. So yeah, that will just, be another really good thing to do with Jackson to help him with even more relaxation.
Just one more thing. Now that he's haltering better, I've started to do a little bit online on the 12-foot line. So, and just the day before yesterday, I just worked a little bit on the circling as well, but at a walk, and just helping with the flexion that way. Can I do that, or should I just let him just sort it out at liberty?
You can. Just look at his response. If he's at this point willing to take direction online and he doesn't go in any, preconceived, oh shit moments, then I would absolutely use that, right?
There might be some ocean moments.
You'll see whether he's, he's there or not. And you might just start doing liberty with a halter on and just having a savvy string, and once in a while you just put that savvy string in, like Jill is doing with serendipity, and you just do a little bit of it, just pepper it in here and there, and just make it really easy. Ask very little, just what can my horse do right now? What I'm 100% sure. You can't even go to the 80%. You have to be like 100% sure. What can he do right now? Well, maybe that's flexing his nose 5 inches to the left and 5 inches to the right. Maybe it's just 1 inch. Who cares? Whatever it is, do that, and then take the string away, and then, do something playful. And then say, how about now we're going to 2 inches, right? Oh, it's fabulous, wonderful. Let's do something else. Let's hop over the obstacle, right? So you do things where if he has any like, where we immediately release that with something quick and fun and exciting, and over a period of time, it's just gonna fall away.
Okay. Yeah. I'll give it a go. Thank you very much, Petra.
You're welcome.